Hello everyone, I'm Rezqya, and today I would like to present our study on the accuracy of submission translations for tourism purposes.
The progress of science has encouraged the development of technology in various aspects of life, including the translation field. It is the high demand for translation services that inspires technologists to invent new technologies in the field, known as machine translation. Today, machine translation is widely used, considering it's fairly accessible and often costs little to use, in contrast to human translation. Google Translate is one of the most commonly used Google translations, owing to the fact that it currently translates over 145 billion words a day. Another product developed by Google, namely Google Lens, also offers translation services. Now, both of the mentioned Google machine translations have the same robust foundation. That is a machine translation approach with strong capabilities at the sentence level translation called neural machine translation. However, the differences are Google Translate being text-based while Google Lens Translate image-based. In addition, Google Lens Translate also focuses not only on translation services, but also comes equipped with additional uses, such as a search engine for finding location, food menus, buildings, and so on, as well as transcription and listening tools. In regard to Google Lens Translate additional capabilities and image recognition technology, it can be used by tourists who don't know the orthography of the destination country. As translation also makes up a vital part in bridging communications between cultures, machine translation has an enormous potential in the rapidly expanding tourism industry. However, even if the translated text reads beautifully, it can deliver completely different meanings and messages. For the reason that while machine translation is designed to match human translation quality, it still produces a considerable amount of inequivalence and errors. The discussion on the GT or Google Translate and Google Lens has been repeated several times. From the previous research shown in the slide, the study that investigates the accuracy comparison of machine translations from linguistic standpoint only focuses on word-for-word level. Thus, little attention is given to the acceptability of the meaning of the whole text. In addition, the research related to the quality of machine translations from the machine translation standpoint only focuses on computational mechanism. Due to the shortcomings of the previous studies, this study focused on comparing the quality of text and image-based machine translations and assessing the ability of the two machines to translate tourism-oriented text containing cultural content on sentence level to fill in the research gap. The importance of machine translation quality assessment is to examine whether the translation results are accurate enough to prevent causing significant and direct impacts for tourists, such as misinformation related to tourist destinations that do not meet expectations or causing tourists to be misled. Secondly, Newmark's translation method concept is used to examine whether the translation method applied by machine translations support the acceptability of the overall meaning of the translated cultural text or not. The study uses the official tourism brochure from the city of Lourdes, France, as corpus. The brochure was obtained from the official tourism website of the city itself. Therefore, the information contained is reliable and describes the diversity of French culture. Furthermore, Lourdes is the most visited city in France by Indonesians, especially for spiritual tourism purposes. While the brochure contains images, the scope of this research is limited to words, clauses, phrases, and sentences. Now, let's jump into the first part of the analysis. In the machine translation errors in tourism text, Kopanen's machine translation error concept is used. Machine translation errors is categorized into 6 types that will be explained in the next slide. Koponen defines mistranslated translation as a discrepancy in the meaning of the equivalent in source text and target text, especially in terms of context. The majority of errors found in the translation results are mistranslated concept. We spotted exactly 8 errors in Google Translate and 9 errors in Google Lens Translate. The table shown now initially presented errors found in Google Translate. However, it is revealed that all errors found in Google Translate also exist in Google Lens Translate. Based on the table, there are 2 categories of the errors that are mistranslated concepts on word level, such as inequivalent words, and on sentence level, related to grammar and structure. The first mistranslated concept error is motivated by the wrong choice of part of speech regarding the word Lourdes. The result shows that the word is translated into Indonesian as an adjective word berat. However, Lourdes is the name of a city in France, and therefore a noun. Google translates error in detecting the right part of speech of a term, therefore it can also be seen from the wrong sentence restructurization from source language to target language grammar. In addition, the mistranslated concept in the form of a sentence structure error can be seen in number 3, namely the word jukir as a connecting word which translates to di mana or where. It is mainly because Indonesian does not recognize conjunctions other than the word yang. Besides the errors found in both Google Translate and Google Lens Translate, there's an additional Google Lens Translate error that is already correct in the Google Translate translation, namely autour de, which translates to di sekitar. However, di sekitar is used following a concrete noun. Because the phrase is followed by an abstract noun that is doa or prayer, this translation is wrong, with the appropriate phrase being seputar doa rosario as offered by Google Translate. The substituted concept is the use of equivalents whose meanings can be accepted in target language, but are not in accordance with the target language context. There are in total 3 substituted concepts in the Google Translate translation result and 4 in the Google Lens Translate result. The first substituted concept in the table above lies in the translation of the word moulin into pabrik or factory. However, moulin is not just a factory. The more precise definition of moulin is a wet grinding factory powered by turbines. Therefore, the more appropriate translation is mill. Next, there's also an additional error found in Google Lens Translate that is already correct in Google Translate regarding the translation of the word misère to kesengsaraan or misery. In terms of financial condition, the more appropriate phrase is jatuh miskin or fall into poverty. According to Koponen, the omitted concept error refers to the omission of one of the source language concepts in target language. There is only one same error found in Google Translate and Google Lens Translate. This omitted concept error occurs especially in the personal pronoun el, which functions as the subject in the sentence. In this case, it can be seen that the word el is not translated in the target text, so that there is no word that occupies the function of the subject. Furthermore, even though the types of errors are grouped into 6 types based on Koponen's concept of translation errors, errors in the form of added concepts, explicitated concepts, and untranslated concepts cannot be found in either Google Translate or Google Lens Translate translation results. In the second part of the analysis, we'll talk about the translation methods of machine translations. The majority of the Google Translate errors provide evidence that faithful translation is the dominant method used. This method pays particular attention to the contextual meaning of the source text while preserving the structure of the language. The examples of the contextual meanings are shown on the right side of the slide. For example, Desit Majar into situs-situs utama, even though literally they should be situs-situs Majar. Meanwhile, the language structure that is maintained can be seen from the use of commas, which are located in identical positions as shown in the next example. For this reason, Google Translate is dominantly oriented toward the source text, as there is no drastic change in sentence patterns. Unfortunately, the translation method that is too faithful to the sentence structure of the source language limits the creativity of the translation of the tourism text. Supposedly, the translation of tourism text must also be able to adapt the culture of the source language to the target language, so as not to cause tourists to get lost in translation. But this has not been achieved through faithful translation. Meanwhile, for the image-based machine translation method, the majority of Google Lens errors consisting of equivalence with general context suggest that the translation method used is literal translation. This is understandable considering the translation process in image-based machine translation is more complicated, which ultimately reduces the accuracy of Google Lens. Based on the analysis of data and the evidences found in the study, we can conclude that the similarity of machine translation approach applied in both machine translations suggests that the errors found in Google Translate are also found in Google Translate. However, an image-based machine translation that has more inputs to process than text-based translation produces additional errors as shown in the Google Lens translation results. For this reason, it can be said that Google Translate as a text-based translation machine has better accuracy and is more reliable for tourism, considering its advantages in terms of semantics. Nevertheless, in terms of practicality, Google Lens has the potential to be a decent alternative for tourism due to its additional capabilities. With further study and development, Google Lens Translate has the potential to become a future substitute for tourism-oriented translation applications.
That's the end of our research presentation. Thank you for your attention.